More fun is all the interaction we can have together. Okay. So tonight we are going over social emotional learning foundations, instruction that supports social emotional development for all children. Okay. So we're going to start with the reflection activity because why not? So what visuals are you already using in your classroom, and what do you see as the benefits of using visuals? And again, feel free if you want to be coming, oh, feeling charts, great. And what do you see as the benefits of using the visuals? And that you can still feel free to put it in the chat or unmute yourself. Visuals help tell about rules and remind about expectations, helps children identify emotions. Exactly. Especially for those little kiddos, right, who can't exactly communicate how they're feeling. Just being able to point and have some type of communication piece with the teacher really helps. Okay, so what is a visual is what we're going to go over next. So there are several advantages of visual aids. Let's learn what they are to help you better understand the power of visuals in learning. So it helps store information longer. Our short-term memory processes words and can only retain about 7 bits of info, whereas images are directly processed by our long-term memory. The other advantage is it makes communication quicker and simpler. All info transmitted to brain, 90% is visual. Human eyes can register 36,000 visual images every hour, which is just mind blowing. And I don't know about you, all of you, but I'm a very visual person. So I completely wholeheartedly agree with this. So just something to keep in mind of if you're ever like, why do I have to put all this stuff up, or why do I have to label this and add the pictures to that? 90% of all information transmitted to their brain, our brain, is from visuals. Super cool. Fun fact of the night. Oh, Amanda, perfect. Perfect, perfect. All right, so here we have unsuitable visuals equals unhappy learners. So there could be unclear pictures, whether it's blurry or it's like not making that much sense. And you're looking at it, you're like, I'm not sure what they're trying to say. So we just want to be able to treat visuals like power boosters for your teaching. Just an extra tool that you have in your toolkit. Okay, why do visual supports make it easier for children to understand and communicate? Very important question. So, words disappear right after we see them. So, visuals hold time and space, right? Like I'm speaking to you right now just by reading, but being able to speak and then read and see, I feel like it helps at least me with the training. Visuals direct attention to them and hold attention. Visuals allow more time to process the information. Visuals assist in remembering. And using the same words every time a visual is shown teaches your child those words where they're just able to pick up, right? So the first thing I'm going to think of, and throughout this training, I feel like it's easier for me to share with my personal experiences. I know with my twins, they can't, they're only 18 months. So for them, their communication is lots of babbling, right? So it helps with like the visual I have is for me to say something, for me to show them and sign. sign it, right? So, and that's how they're picking it up. And I can kind of understand what they want, whether it's like, right, like or more milk or all done. So that helps. So that's just something you can also bring into the classroom as well. Stages of visuals are objects. Well, the first one we're going to go over is objects. So this would be considered the first level of visual representation and would include the actual objects. So for some children, seeing a sandwich in their parents' teacher's hands tells them it's time for lunch. The next is going to be miniature objects. So these are smaller versions of the objects. And last is color photographs. So this would consist of colored photographs of the concrete objects. So for some children, being shown a photograph of a bus means we're going to school or we're going home. Okay. And please feel free if you have any questions, like I said, put it in the chat or you can come off mute. So more stages of visuals, black and white photographs. This level would consist of the same photographs, but in black and white. Color line drawings. These are picture symbols that are often used with children who are able to understand at this level of abstraction. And black and white line drawings. These are also picture symbols and serve the same purpose as colored line drawings. So a lot of different stages of visuals. Next, we have body motion. So use body motion along with visuals and stories to engage the cerebellum as frequently as possible. Sight words and alphabets also rely heavily on body motions, help those very kinesthetic learners store and retrieve info, and here are some motions for vowels. Do you know any sign language, or do you use it with the kids or not yet? Or at all. And that's fine if you don't. And if you do, if you wanted to incorporate tons of YouTube videos out there just to get the basics. So nonverbal classroom management strategies, raise your hand, and
I
finger
definitely
to,
use
oh,
some. Sorry, I had a hard time getting
that's
off of
totally
mute.
fine.
I have technical issues sometimes. Yeah, I use sign language in the classroom. Definitely the more and all done and simple signs
Mhm.
like that, hungry, things like that. And especially with some of my more nonverbal 2-year-olds, it really
Mhm.
helps.
Oh, it does. One of my twins, very big screamer, and that's just how he communicates right now, but he's slowly starting to pick up, and I'm like, oh, thank you. Because instead of guessing 21 different things, it's amazing.
Yes, that's nice. It's so
Um,
helpful.
yes. Well, thank you for sharing.
Hmm.
So here's some other management strategies. Like I said, raise your hand and finger to lips, sign language, which we both do, routines, games, and songs. Okay, so there's a visual support checklist that I just wanted to go through together with you tonight. Okay, so this is more so for you to realize like, okay, this is what I am implementing in the classroom, and this is something that I should or I'm not ready yet, but I could in the future to help, if that makes sense. So I love hand movement songs. Oh yeah, let me tell you, the Itsy Bitsy Spider, man, I should just market that book in my house because it is a fan favorite with everyone. Okay, so I'm just going to read them to you if that helps, and then you can just mentally say yes or no, and feel free to interrupt at any time. I do love that. And say, Chels, if you have any questions or comments, whatever you want. Okay, so understanding where to find things and where they belong. A label on each child's cubby with an image of the child's face. Labels on shelves indicating what should be kept or found there. And then it just goes over tips for making labels, right? So at the beginning of the school year, the photo is larger and the text is smaller. You can begin to switch mid-year, so matching children's development, and make the text larger and the photo smaller. Eventually, have children help to create or write the labels in their own language, can use different colors for each language if they would like. Use lowercases font for shelf labels if the words are not proper nouns, and make them large enough. Many places do not have the words large enough, so just keep that in mind. And then for the name cards, make the first letter uppercase and the other letters lowercase, because that is a really good transition once they get into kindergarten. Understanding when things will happen. Do you have a daily schedule? Do they understand what to do and how to do it? So, curriculum, classroom, and your community expectations. I know for being in the classroom, we like our classroom rules and expectations. I say like 3 is the absolute limit. And I'm sure you've heard like be kind, keep body to yourself, and what's another one we can have? I'm going to draw a blank, but I know there could be a simpler one out there. Um, you can just say use manners if that's what you wanted. That's the only thing that can come to mind right now. So just something to be mindful of. Step-by-step procedural directions. So winter dressing sequence, right? So a lot of the time it's like, okay, do they know how to put on a jacket? Do they know how to zip their jacket? Things that we think are so basic, but they're little, they're still learning how to do it. Center play poster. So how many children can play here? That's also important. I know the kitchen can be a hot commodity. Hey, we can only have two littles at a time in here, okay? All right. Oh, and here we go. So tips for making a center play poster. If 4 children can play in an area, the side might have the number 4 on it, or it could have 4 dots, the word 4, and 4 stick figures, right? So everyone in there is going to understand. Classroom rules and or expectations, voice volume chart, turn list or waiting list for popular centers and activities, defined space. So placemats, carpet squares with photo on rugs for showing children their spots. I'm not sure if you do that in your classroom. Sign-in charts, understanding how to interact with others. Social stories demonstrating interactions with peers and supporting conflict resolution. Social stories to help children process changes, so vacations, staffing changes, child who is moving, right? A lot of the time we think, oh, kids won't notice or kids are resilient, but it's still really important to communicate. Even if you think they don't really know what's going on, they pick up a lot more stuff than we think. You had said pillows for circle time. Yes, very important as well. Or if they need like those little wiggler seats as well. Some friends might need to fidget with something or headphones, whatever the case may be, right? Understanding how to communicate thoughts and choices, so communication supports, choice board, plan for centers to play in, preference chart, so graph of favorite food charts, and feelings chart. So just wanted to read through this with you just so you can say, yes, I have this, or I didn't even think about that. That's something I can implement this fall. Or if your program is through the year. Okay, so visual picture of children with names. So these are the options for having a visual with the children's name. So it could be cubby, it could be seating table or circle, depending if you have like assigned seats or like to switch it up for the year, and put their picture in a book in the story area. Okay, so labeling, you could have it on shelves, containers. Think about what's on the labels. If there's anything else you can add on the labels. What tricks have you found that work for labeling? If you would like to share, let me know. And Velcro, packing tape, and contact paper. So different ways. I like to put it on cubbies. Perfect. A good printer. Amen. Printer and laminator for sure. Fun fact, I did not realize how small laminators can be. just to have for the classroom. So many different ways. Good tape, all the things. Those little sticker dots, very important. So labels in the home and classroom provides information about where to find items, demonstrates where items need to be put away, allows for more independence in accessing those materials, right? Especially if they can't communicate, they're too shy. Um, Already having it labeled, they feel like, okay, I can do it. I can get it myself, reaching towards that independence. Promotes children's understanding of visuals representing objects, and bilingual words or phrases help children and teachers learn new words, right? So, as much as we are teaching the children, I feel like the children are also teaching us daily, daily, daily. Definitely testing our patience as well. Okay, so using a visual schedule is what we're going to go after next, or go through next. And this is just an example that you can see. All right, schedule. So help alleviate children's anxiety. We can even like cut out children because I know I like a good schedule. I like to mentally prepare what's going to happen. I don't know if it's because I have 4 kids or if that's how I was raised, but some people like to just get up and go. No, I got to make sure we got the snacks, we got the drinks. If they need a nap, are we going to have this with the stroller? And I feel like by that time I pack up half my house and then I don't want to leave unless I've already have a schedule ahead of time and was able to pack everything, right? Especially summer now. We're all going on vacation or staycation, whatever it may be. Very important. So I know it alleviates my anxiety as well. It also helps improve children's understanding and cooperation. It provides children with information about what regular activities are happening that day, what is the sequence of events to come, what new activities will occur, what is not happening, and when it is time to stop one activity and start another. So in case you're wondering when would I give this type of schedule, I always recommend if you don't have one, or even if you have one just in the classroom, bringing it with you towards circle time. So then once you're done with your songs and your movement, whatever it may be, then everyone together can go over the schedule. So after circle, we're going to have snack. Then we're going to go outside. Then we're going to do X, Y, and Z, whatever the case may be, right? And it just helped the kids know. I also helped it alleviate. They're still going to ask, when are we doing this? When are we doing this? When are we doing this? And it's just a constant reminder. Okay, do you remember? We talked about first we're going to do this and then we're going to do this, right? So which visuals to use? So you can use a maximum of 6 or 7 visuals in the sequence, right? If you got 10, 15, 20 different pictures going on, it's just going to be information overload, not going to work. So max 6 or 7, right? I think 5's a really good one. Identify times of the day which are noticeably different from each other. So when location changes or when activity changes, right? That transition. Choose symbols that are general enough that they cover the range of possibilities for the activity. So lunchtime rather than a specific food. Okay. Label pictures with the exact words that you and others will use to refer to the activity, and use actual pictures of the children doing the activity. Amanda, it's nice to be able to go back to the chart when kids are having a hard. Exactly, right? And again, you not even needing to communicate, you can just point and show. That's another thing that I highly recommend as well, is to shy away from clip art and use the children in your classroom. I also think the kids really enjoy it because they're like, oh, Amanda's going to go in the kitchen area. Logan's going to go do dress up, and I want to do this or that, or whatever the case may be. So I feel like it really is good for that. Okay. So where to put a schedule? So mount in a visible place Hello, Rita. Thank you for joining. Kids love pictures of them and their families. Correct. Yeah, especially when you're just starting out in their center or in home or preschool, wherever it may be, and they don't know anyone. They've never been in a school setting. Having, excuse me, their family picture there really helps a lot as well. Okay, so where to put a schedule? Mount an invisible place where the schedule can be referred to easily. So on a wall, at their classroom desk, in their cubby. Keep it accessible for the children to refer to on their own. I would also say keep it at eye level, their eye level, not yours. So they are able to visibly see it as well. Refer to it however many times a day they need to. So many schedules. As you can see on the screen, we have one at the sink. So supplements the daily schedule, direct choices or sequence of activities, and are often more detailed than schedules and therefore can teach specific skills, right? So obviously, as adults, we know how to wash our hands. Children coming into care, they honestly may not know, right? It's not our job to judge, it's our job to teach, right? So um, right, first you're going to turn on the water, then you're going to get your soap, then you're going to scrub, 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 sing happy birthday, another song, whatever works for you. Turn it off, dry hands, and then go, right? So for someone who's coming in, could you imagine, like, oh my gosh, I don't know what to do? So when they can see it step by step by step, how helpful that is. So I'm a big fan of mini schedules. How to use a mini schedule. Here we go. So provide mini schedules within the area of your program or additional information is needed. So wash hands, mini schedule above the sink, a washroom, mini schedule near the toilet. Provide pictures for the main steps required to complete the task. So turn on water, get soap, wash hands, turn off water, dry hands. Introduce a mini schedule to children during the activity which it describes. Point to each picture and say the words associated with step in the sequence that it is being carried out. So use consistent language, stressing the main words, get soap, right? And I know for some teachers, I know me back in my day, right? When I first started teaching, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is taking forever, right? We gotta show them this, we gotta do this, like constant repetition, repetition. I promise you it's gonna pay off. Give it like a solid, even like a solid week, and you will see a difference. 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month, and then by then it's like, oh, everyone knows we gotta have clean hands, we're good to go. But you know, you're always getting new kids throughout the year, so just having that up, I would just keep it up all the time, to be honest, because everyone can always use that constant reminder. So, rules. With having rules in the classroom, just remember to provide a clear, consistent description of the expectations. When posted in an accessible place, they can be referred to whenever necessary, such as when your child does not seem to understand what is expected. You can use photos to illustrate. But again, no more than 3 to 4. So I said 5, I was incorrect. 3 to 4. Here we go. Take care of yourself, take care of friends, take care of stuff. Here we go. Be kind, be safe, be helpful, right? Something not so long that kids can remember. Nice, short, sweet when you're making the rules. And it also really helps to make the rules together as a classroom, right? So they feel they have a safe, say ha- that they feel they have a say, right? They want to feel safe. They want to feel loved. Like this is their classroom. This is their second home. How would you want to feel, be treated, right? Just having autonomy in themselves and in their environment. So, how to use rules. So, involve children in conversations about development of classroom rules. Use positive wording to state how your child should behave. So, walk rather than don't run. Post in a visible area at your children's eye level and refer to your children to the posted rules. Amanda, the kids do better following rules when they help. Exactly. Right. And then again, just sitting there having that conversation with them rather than telling, right? And I know being at school, it can be a lot of do this, do this, do this. So to feel like they have a say of, okay, yes, I agree with all the classroom rules, it just makes a smoother transition throughout the day. Rules and environment. So, quick discussion for you, for all of you. Look at the rules you have in your classroom and just think to yourself, does it have to be this way? And why do you do what you do? And then to also, when you finish thinking about that, are examples given of appropriate behavior? Meaning how to appropriately behave in a classroom, right? The first thing that comes to mind, walking feet rather than no running, no skipping, no hopping, no whatever our wild little ones can do, right? So is it appropriate in that regard? What does it look like to sit on the carpet, right? What does it look like to lay down for nap time? If they're transitioning from, and I know depending on the age group, a crib to a cot, right? For us, it doesn't seem that much, but for them, that's a huge change. Okay. So just something to think about. Okay. Okay. Emergency drills, right? They can be very jarring, very loud, unpredictable by nature, and distressing. Here are three tips to help. So, one, practice with a smaller group of students or individually prior to a whole school drill. And if this is something that you need to communicate with the director, you are a director here. If you can let the teachers know, obviously, we want them to practice and not know, right? In case there was a fire, they know what to do. But in the beginning, just say, hey, we're going to be having a drill at the end of the month. Let's start practicing now. So, in 2 to 3 weeks' time, the kids will be comfortable. They'll know what to do. They're used to the sound or whatever the case may be. Yes, love the idea of practicing before the drill. Practice, practice, practice. Practice makes perfect. Use a social story in conjunction with the picture cards and read it with your students several times or days prior to a whole skill drill. And you know your kids, right? Let's just say, Chelsea, I don't. I just got placed in this classroom. Okay, we're all learning together, right? Uh, so again, if you're like, I don't really want to do it like 2 weeks in advance, we're just going to go really hard the first week. We're going to do our social stories. We're going to practice. We're going to discuss. We're going to get parents on page. We're all good. Discuss and practice behaviors during drills. So quiet mouth. Explain the rule of no screaming or yelling so they can hear the teachers. Okay, so again, quiet mouth rather than just saying, be quiet, don't talk. Explain why. It's important to hear the teacher because in case of an emergency, we have to know what to do, right? Hands to sides, not on ears, which is something that is inevitable, to be honest, right? Because when those drills come on, it is very loud, but with overtime, they'll get used to it, right? And calm body. So just reminding them, like, this is just practice. We are okay. Okay. And think about making going to the meeting location as a daily ritual. So when going outside, line up that fence before starting free play. Okay, depending on where you have to go for your location, sometimes it might be in a parking lot, sometimes it might be across the street. So, those things to keep in mind. You really don't want to wait the day of, especially if it's a far walk with 2, 3, 4 year olds, whatever the case may be. Yeah, we don't want a disaster. We don't want to stress anyone out. Okay, so here we're gonna take a break. Is everyone good? We're gonna take a break, but also, Logan, are we good to go?
Yeah, we could gonna take like a 5 minute break.
Ye- Amanda, is that good
Or
with you? Yeah, yes, or do
yes,
you just?
I'm good with whatever. If you want to just keep going, that's fine too.
I will, Amanda, Rita, I will leave that up to you.
Then let's just keep going. But if you do need a break, feel free to step away, take the break that you need. We will get you out early.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, first then boards. My favorite. Okay, so teach lot a first and then board. It teaches logical sequences of events. So first tidy up, then go outside. Visually clarify step-by-step instructions. And it assists with skill building by motivating your child to engage in a less preferred activity, knowing that a preferred activity will follow. So at the end of the training, when I send a follow up email, I will also add in resources uh, for examples of a first and then board. Okay. Do you use these in your classroom, Amanda, or anyone? And if not, highly recommend. It is a game changer. Okay. How to use first then boards. If you're like, Chelsea, I don't even know what you're talking about, here we go. The first picture is always an activity that you want your child to engage in, such as a transition or a skill building activity, depending on the child. I have not used them. All right, you're in for a treat. Let me know. I do. If you think, yes, I'm good, I can implement it, or this is something you need help with, and I can totally help you. So can do first, until, and then. Okay, so example of that is we are going to clean up for 5 minutes and then we will go outside. Or we are going to go around the track 5 times and then go inside. The then picture reinforces the first activity by being an activity or object that your child enjoys. So show the first then board to your child and name the activities while pointing to the picture. So assist your child in carrying out the sequence. Okay. So here are some visuals that I just grabbed. That I wanted you to see, like, oh, what could I use for a choice board in the classroom, right? So first work, then play. It's a classroom experience with subjects. Then break time could be work or it could be food. So especially like your kid, and if you don't, this is a great way to build upon that relationship. I know when I worked in the classroom with little ones, for those who were unable to communicate, I would even ask the parents, hey, what is the thing that they love to do at home? Right. So today, think about Minecraft, right? So, first, we are going to, let's say the non preferred activity is Play Doh. We got some sensory stuff going on, or they're just like, I don't want to play with that today. And you're like, huh. First, we're going to set a timer, right? 2 minutes, 5 minutes, whatever you think they can handle. First, we're going to play with Play Doh, and then we could play a Minecraft puzzle, a Minecraft game, whatever the case may be, right? And as they get a little older, then you could put in academics too. Like, first, we will do 5 math problems, and then we will take a break on the iPad or take a break and do deep breaths, build something, whatever the case may be. And I hope also, even if you are like, I don't need to implement this in the classroom, if you have littles at home, I implement this in my household. Like, first, we are going to brush our teeth before we leave the house to go to school, right? So something along those lines. And I feel like at least one of my kiddos really picks up on the first and then, right? A lot of the time I see it in the classroom where it's like, all right, kids, we're done. The transition is a little hard first. So it's like, all right, I need you to push in your chairs, go to your cubby, get your jacket on, zip up your jacket, do this. And for some of them, it's like, there's too many directions. I'm not getting it. They really need it broken down. So first push in your chair, then go to your cubby. Okay. 2-step directions. And then maybe when you start doing that, then you can add a third. First, push in your chair, then go to your cubby and grab your jacket. Okay. And again, repetition, repetition, repetition. You're going to be like, am I talking to myself or is everyone else listening? But eventually, with time, it'll be better built into your schedule and your routine. So something to think about, Amanda. Okay. Or anyone else. So choice boards. Choice boards provide information about what options are available. They may be used to broaden your child's play interests and prompt your child to make a request or choice. And it can clarify a spoken language, right? So let's say they maybe just not nonverbal, but they're bilingual, right? So they can't communicate what they want, but they can point and say, or they have it written down in their language, even though you don't know what it says. There's so many different ways that you can do it. It's really fun. Okay, so we're going to talk about 2 different types of activity choice boards. So the first one is going to be class-wide. So class-wide usually consists of a board with activity pockets, and this is where each child places his name card in the pocket of the activity in which he would like to engage in. There are several variations of this type. The board may have enough Velcro spots for the corresponding number of children who can play at each classroom area, or each child may have a name pocket where the activity card is placed. Some teachers have each child choose their first activity at the end of circle time using this method, and other teachers require the child to move their name card as they change activities throughout the day. So this is something, if you did want to implement into your classroom, you can decide to do either way with your whole class, rather than individual if you didn't want to do that as well. The next is individual. So a few possible activities are presented on a board. The choices may be presented to broaden your child's play repertoire and therefore consist of some activities that are not usually chosen, or to encourage her to indicate a selection and therefore to pick activities that she already likes. If your child is just learning to make a choice, a non-preferred activity should also be represented to ensure that she is making a choice. Okay? Your child may indicate her choice by vocalizing, verbalizing, or gesturing. She should receive the indicated choice immediately to reinforce having made a choice. All right, I know I just said choice a lot. I hope everyone understands what I'm saying. So again, just a few possibility activities that are presented on their board, and that make sure the child likes the activities, because then that would not work. So that's what I said, just getting to know. And if you don't know, just that is that time to build that parent teacher relationship. So being on the same page. With this, I also like to include the parents because I strongly believe it's always better for the child as a whole to implement what's in the classroom at home or at home and in the classroom. So we're on the same page and it helps it click. So everyone's on the same page. All right, social stories, my favorite. Social stories are short stories, often with, including parents helps everyone. Exactly. Social stories are short stories, often with pictures describing a situation from the child's point of view. They can be individual and can be created on any topic. And again, I can send more resources if you'd like. Anything you could think of. Tucker the Turtle always comes to mind. Um, I know I had to make one for like inclusion for all children who are different coming into your classroom, right? Bullying can be one. Just so many. They are typically written about a topic that is challenging for the child or the children. And the idea behind social stories being the child will better understand and have consistent reminders of the expectations in the target situation, right? So our littles are they're very curious, right? So sometimes they just don't understand what they say can hurt others or what they do. So if you're feeling like that in your classroom and you're like, oh, I'm really struggling in this area, I've repeated, like I'm just blue is coming out of my face from repeating, and it's not hitting, bring in a social story. And that usually helps. Also, feel free to contact me and be like, Chelsea, I don't know what to do. And I'm like, all right, let's figure this out together. But always a fan of social stories. And here we go. How do I create a social story? Literally anyone can create one. Okay. So even if you're like, hey, this is a fun activity, I looked online, I saw some that I like, but it doesn't really pinpoint to what I want to teach. How about we all make it together? Or you can make it just for your classroom, whatever the case may be. Include some personal information about the child to make the story his or her own. Choose one behavior or situation to focus on in one story. State facts about the situation. Provide ideas of child performance around the expected behavior. Focus on what the child should do in the situation, and you do not have to have artistic talent. I do not. I'm stick figures at best. Thank goodness for Canva, right? I mean, the internet is amazing at what it can make for you. Stories always help children relate to feelings and situations. Exactly. And again, each child is so different. So whether it's regarding their behavior or like I had mentioned, and I say Minecraft, my son is super into Minecraft right now. So I know if I create a social story with that type of imaging in there, I'm going to grab his attention. To make sure he understands my whole point of why I made it, right? All right, so how do I use a social story? So you're going to introduce only one social story at a time. We don't want to be reading a different social story each day until we feel like the first one they really understood. We're implementing it in the classroom, depending on what it is, right? So just to think about that, you can create the story with the child if you feel like that would be better. It is very important to introduce a new social story when the child is calm and relaxed, right? Their brain is quieted down, their breathing is calm, we're ready to go. Read it to the child in a one-on-one situation, and it should be an enjoyable experience. Or if you feel like the whole class really needs it, that would be a good time too. Maybe you decide to do it before. So right after lunch, everyone's full, we're calm, maybe we're feeling sleepy. And then maybe again, if you wanted to, after waking up or having snack, whatever the case may be, you know your kids. Um, you'll know what time of day works best for them. A social story can be read up to a couple of times each day with the planned reading before the activity or situation portrayed in the story. So the first thing that comes to mind and for me is like transition. When I go out to a lot of places, a lot of the time they're like, I don't know what to do. It's like we transition to one and it's complete chaos. So I'm like, all right, have you tried this? Have you tried this? So along with doing, okay, we're going to do a song, we're going to do a movement, we're going to do a timer. Being able to add in that social story will really help. Okay, next we're going to go over circle time song boards. So we're going to provide the opportunity to make a choice independently. This helps keep their attention. It provides consistent, repetitive language, and it expands your children's ability to understand and use language. So here we go with this. So, popsicle song choice. I don't know if any of you have heard of it, but every time I learn a new song, you can put name and picture on the popsicle stick. And then you'll put the song choice in the basket. You can laminate the pictures with the song choices, whatever the case may be. And if you don't have this implemented into your classroom, highly recommend. Okay. So I know, again, I'm going to go to the itsy bitsy spider when my little one, she'll go like this, right? So I would make sure to have a picture of someone doing this or a spider or something where like they can connect the dots but can't communicate what song they want on. Okay, songs. So song choice book, if you didn't want to do the popsicle one. So you can make a book with words and visuals with each song learned and make song choice books for each child to send home so the family can learn the songs, right? I know a lot of families music can be communicated in so many different ways, but that's just also a way to really have that family time together. Whether it be during dinner, after dinner, before bedtime, whatever the case may be. So feelings, right? I know we touched upon this in the beginning. So how do you teach feelings in your classroom? And what visuals could or do you use? Like, do you just use a smiley face or an angry face? Do you do the main emotions or do you open it up to more? Are they understanding the difference between being angry and then being frustrated, right? So, Amanda, stories, we have 6 different emotions. Okay, nice. Do you mind sharing what they are? And do you have visuals for each one? Like you go over each one, or what does it look like? Like these are just things to think about when, if you need to implement it and how do you teach it? What does it look like? Again, if you don't know, that's totally fine. That's why we take these trainings. Right. And every child can experience a feeling differently. So for me, right, when I start to feel anxious, my heart starts to beat really, really, really fast and my face gets hot. But for someone else, it may be their hands start to shake or they're having a hard time speaking, right? So even just explaining, right, this is what it looks like, this is what it could feel like, you know, and being able to communicate feelings are okay, right? We don't have to be happy all the time. We want to, but that's not always the case. We have pictures of others' children's emotional faces. Yep. And like I had mentioned before in the beginning, just staying, if you can, from the clip art and using children in the classroom, like their feelings, right? Of being happy, being sad, being angry, being frustrated, all the things. So, visual timers. Visual timers is used to give warnings of transitions, taking turns with items, and limit the times in the centers. So if children have sensory issues, just make sure you might not want to use ones that make those like or those really loud bells. You can use like a cheap kitchen timer if you want. So my psychology around the timer is children often give turns faster when the timer gets started. So fun fact. And taking turns, all right, I really want us to listen up for this. Taking turns is different than sharing. If using for turn taking, make sure that we have enough time for all to have a turn. Okay, so a lot of the time it's really hard for children to differentiate it between turn taking and sharing. I know for me as a teacher, right, when I was in the classroom, we're always learning just as well. And I had to take a step back when I read this. I'm like, oh yeah, there is a major difference. So for kiddos to know that as well. And if they don't have enough time, just say, we're not going to be able to have enough time to take turns in for this activity for all of us. Okay, so planning consideration. So I just wanted to have a quick open discussion based on everything that we have gone through. If you were going to start using more visuals tomorrow, what would you need to do? So something to think about, right? If you were going to start using more visuals tomorrow, what would you need to do? Where would you even start? So just something to think about, right? Being like, this could be, I'm really struggling with this. If I have this visual, maybe it can make it a little better, right? It's a trial and error too. So if you were to use a visual, let's see, and feel free to share out if you want more visuals tomorrow, what would you do? For nap time. Because I just think I know in my house, nap time, it's a hit or miss. And mama needs a break sometimes, right? So maybe for the kiddos, we need the step by step on, okay, we're gonna, your bed's ready with your blanket, your little stuffy or your book, whatever the case may be, and just showing them to lay down. Depending on your classroom, it may say you don't have to fully go to sleep, but you just need to rest your body. What does that look like? For some, they may not understand. Maybe they don't have a nap at their house or they've never napped before. I don't know, right? We never know. We can't assume. So that would be a consideration that I would like for all of you to take away tonight. Okay, so criteria to take into consideration. So is the material or activity developmentally appropriate? So if you realize that kiddos are having a struggle, we're all on the struggle bus with this one activity or something we're doing, we're using the first and then, we're using choice boards, all the things, and it's not working, take a step back and be like, are my expectations too high for their too high for them. So just something to think about. Okay, so in the next couple of slides, we are going to go through some reflection questions. Who is the tool, activity, or material intended for? Okay, so lots of reflection towards the end. So is this material activity for teachers to distribute or for children to use as needed? What level of supervision is required, right? Immediately, I think scissors. Should all children have access to them when they need it? Or should we ask a teacher before? Do they know the rules of holding a scissor, right? Rules in how should you hold it? Should you be running? Should you be walking, right? Things that we may not think about because it's already embedded into our brain, but how can we break it down for the littles? Okay. What level of supervision? If we want to cut paper, we want to make sure we have eyes before our friends have a haircut that is just, we need to get fixed after school. Okay, something to think about. All right, so things to keep in mind with materials and activities. So how many are available and who gets to use them? Right, so in the beginning, remember when I talked about we're going to have 2 to 3 friends at each activity? And you're like, but why? Why can't we have 5 or 6? Maybe there's just not enough toys, not enough materials in that station for all of them to play together or independently. So that's why we need to have a limit. And who gets to use them? Should it, well, it should, every child should be able to use it. So that's just not even something to think about. Okay, so number, activities, toys, stimulation, in an environment. So with fewer toys, participants had fewer incidences of toy play, longer durations of toy play, and played with toys in a greater variety of ways. And they studied toddlers in this, right? So for the study, 24 kindergarten students were placed in a laboratory classrooms for 6 introductory science lessons on topics they were unfamiliar with. 3 lessons were taught in a heavily decorated classroom, and 3 lessons were given in sparse classrooms. The results showed that while children learned in both classroom types, they learned more when the room was not heavily decorated. Specifically, children's accuracy on the test questions was higher in the sparse room, so 55% correct, than in the decorated classroom, 42% correct. Okay, I just want to take a pause on this because I want to go back because it's really coming up to my brain right now. So, sorry. Where was it? Okay. Is the material activity developmentally appropriate? And I want to say this only because I have gone into some programs and a little bit surprised, I want to say. So, developmentally appropriate is, do you, and maybe you do, and we can have a discussion about it, think that it is appropriate for a 2-year-old, maybe even 3-year-old, to have to sit in a chair at a table using a utensil to do it and expectations to do the activity, right? So we have sitting in a chair at a table with a utensil of whatever the case may be, doing an activity. And you may say, Chelsea, absolutely not. Well, I have been into some programs, and it could be a culture thing, it could be just some things with time I've learned. We have to have realistic expectations, right? So, okay, let's say you want children to sit down, do an activity, whether it be with a pencil, whether it be with Play Doh. Why do they have to sit? Why can't they stand? Why don't you have an area, let's say tape on the floor with a box? Hey, so and so, I know it's really hard for you to sit down right now, right? You don't have to, but we're going to stay in this area and we're just going to play with this here, right? Does that sound good? Okay. So just be mindful um, of that situation. They also, maybe them sitting down, they don't need to be learning letters and numbers right now. We want to talk about exploring emotions, right? Who they are as a person, right? That social emotional development is so important. Academics can come, right? They will catch up. So one big takeaway, I just want to make sure, is it developmentally appropriate? And if you think, oh man, maybe it's not, and that's fine. A lot of this training tonight is really about reflection and realizing, yes, this isn't working, and no, it's not, so I need to change it. Okay, so sorry to go backwards. We'll go back onto the page. So the number of activities, toys, stimulation, environment. I thought this was pretty cool. I know when I first started, looking back now, probably embarrassing that I said it out loud. I'm like, wow, why do you have a closet outside of the classroom with all these different toys? Why are you not putting everything in one room, right? And then I realized, right, so depending on if you're doing what's it called? Like different themes for the month, right? Maybe you only need 3 or 4 toys, right? Or whatever the case may be, activities throughout the month or the 2, 3 months, whatever the case may be. They can play with it in so many different ways when they only have those couple of choices rather than, oh my gosh, I have like 20 different choices of toys. I don't even know where to go. I don't even know what to do. It's too overwhelming. And it's like, why are the children not playing with anything? Um, yeah. So Amanda, finding the perfect amount of toys is hard. 100%. And I'm guilty as that as a mom. I'm like, oh my gosh, maybe they don't want to play with their toys. Let me get something else. When in reality, half the time they're only playing with the same couple toys circling through. Um, I don't expect them to, but helpful to see where they are at and observe their progress, right? And kids are going to teach each other. They teach a lot more than we think, right? Like, oh, I didn't know that you could uh, play it that way, or they may have their own imaginary way to play with that they want to share with you. So, yeah, just something to think about. So, what skills do you hope for a child or children to gain in your classroom? Right. So, I know, uh, again, how I try to relate when I do a training is independent play. Like, I need you to go over here 10 minutes. That's all I'm asking for, depending on the age group, right? Maybe they can only give me 5 minutes, but that's fine. Can still have my hot cup of coffee. To just independent play, whatever the case may be, right? So if you find that, oh my gosh, the same children or child, can you play with me? Can you do this? That would be for me, and I'm still learning it, right? So just food for thought. What skills do you hope for the child in your classroom to gain, and how can we fix that based on all the wonderful things we have just learned tonight? All right, so directions. Uh, be careful with directions. Multiple steps can be confusing or too much information for children. That's really when we bring in the first and then, and presented things as a choice or a question when it is not. It's different for each child. Meaning for what? Like the multiple steps? Because I 100% agree with you in that. I can tell my daughter to do A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And I know my son, we're going to get to like A, B, I'm pushing C, depending on the day, right? Um, also, I know for non-preferred activities. So, do you want to go outside? We're going outside. Rain, sunshine, hurricane, snowstorm. May not be long. We're going to take a break. Everyone needs it, right? Um, so no, do you want to go outside? We're going to put jacket and shoes on. It's time for outside play, right? Just reframing it. So it's different for each child what you want them to learn in your class, right? So also something important, or not even important, but if this is something you want to implement into your classroom when you're having new students come in, just to build upon that teacher family relationship, what do you want your child what do you want from your child in care? What do you want them to learn? What do you want them to work on? Right? Because it's going to be different. And that may also help you as well. So just something to think about. Question. So, what are some strategies you use to introduce activities or materials? Right? Because we're not just going to have them all be sitting down or at circle time and you're like, here, figure it out, right? So, what are some strategies you use to introduce them to help them understand what they're doing? Or are you more a free play where you're saying, here are these materials, do as you want? But remember our rules, be kind, be safe, be respectful, whatever the case may be. So, I like to introduce new things at circle time. Great. And again, you may have a classroom where morning time kids are on point. Or you may have a classroom where it's like, hey, it is so chaotic in the morning. I don't get their full attention till after everyone has a much needed nap, right? You know your kids. So, time of the day, very important. Time of the day, how many times you repeat it, all these things. So, strategies for implementation. Introduce materials and activities to children one at a time. Make it fun. Use a game if you want. And modeling appropriate use, right? And we're going to dive into that a little better with pre-teaching. Pre-teach, so modeling appropriate use. So make sure to introduce the activity or material to all children before making it available, not just a certain group, everyone in the classroom. So pre-teaching and reteaching use of materials. Again, repetition, repetition, repetition. And think about steps for accessibility, right? So I always say, I do, we do, you do. Before the you do, it may be a lot of I do, I do, I do. Now I do, we do. No, I do, we do, you do. So think about it too. I know I'm talking about Play-Doh a lot. You would be surprised, or maybe not surprised. Some children will come into care and they may not know how to play. And you could be, Chels, what are you talking about? It's true. They may not. Who knows what their home environment is? Like it could be a number of things, right? So you keep in the back of your mind teaching things first time for them, right? So maybe like, I don't even know what Play-Doh is, right? So open it. We're going to have our cup of Play-Doh. We're going to open the lid. We're going to take the Play-Doh out and you can play how you want, right? So we can turn, I know you can make little balls, you can make little snakes, depending if you have little tools you can use, your imagination, right? But for someone who's like, what is this? I've never seen it. I don't know what to do. It can be a little scary. So again, just watching, when they're watching how you're doing it, very important. Girl, me too. Have you ever made edible Play-Doh, right? Because I know we're nervous for the littles and we don't want to say, yes, you can eat it. We don't want them to, but if you put it in your mouth, it's not as, oh my gosh. So something to think about. If you can make edible Play-Doh, just don't tell them it's edible because we still don't want them just like hiding out in the corner, eating all your Play-Doh. So yeah, introducing new things at circle time, all that. Yes, I made lots of different Play-Dohs. Yeah, so all the things. And expectations. So just again, remember age development of the children classroom, right? Do we need to teach anatomy to 4-year-olds? We could, but depending on on how far you want to go into it, right? And I just pulled that out. But expectations, remember the development of the children in the classroom. Remember they're there to have fun and learn, but to be, at the end of the day, to be able to feel safe, loved, cared for, and everything else will fall into place. Okay. So, rebuying of expectations using a variety of modalities. So, examples and non examples, handheld visuals, social stories, music, light, changes, visual timers, literally everything we just talked about in this training. Comment on and acknowledge children's appropriate behavior, skills, or activities. Positive praise, right? Listen, I praise myself. I'm like, Chelsea, you did it, right? You showed up to the children who may have a hard time coming to school. Wow, I am so happy to see you at school today. I see that you are having trouble in the kitchen area and you used your words or you took a break, right? Yeah, so all the things. Who doesn't love positive praise? Okay, so measuring the effectiveness of a tool, strategy, or adaptations. So the amount of time it has been utilized. Did you pre-teach and did you reteach, right? If you are introducing something, do you think if you just do it one time in the morning at circle, they're going to get it? We're going to say no, right? We're going to, just like what we talked about with the drills, you're going to want to do it weeks before. You're going to want to introduce, pre-teach, reteach, pre-teach, reteach. And you're like, Chels, we've been going at it for months. Everything was good. And then boom, right? So I'm going to say, for example, after break, it's really hard to come back after winter break, right? We've had 2 to 3 weeks off at a time. We forgot some of the rules in the classroom, or, it was a free for all at home because we were on vacation. You might have to go back to the basics, pre teach and reteach, right? So, expectations not even for your students, but for yourself, right? And sometimes we have to put ourselves in place as well. So, a few questions. How are you measuring if children know the expectations? And then observation and assessment. And I don't know why this leaves me up on this slide. So we're not even going to worry about observation and assessment because we're going to talk about that in another training. But how are you measuring if children know the expectations? And for the littles, right? They're all little, say, that they know their expectations when we have what I would call like a bubble in our mouth when we're lining up, right? The line may not look completely straight, but for the majority, we're doing good, right? That's how you can measure it. And again, the positive praise by observing their actions, right? Seeing if we're having a decrease in behaviors during those transitions, right? Their expectations of knowing how many people are to be in an area, okay? So, all the things. And we're all done. So I want to thank everyone for getting to hang out with me tonight. And I really hope uh, that we all learn something and key takeaways for how we're going to implement all of these fun things into the classroom. I will send the PowerPoint and resources, and please feel free to reach out if you have any questions. So yeah, that is all for tonight. Does anyone have any questions or comments, feedback? And if not, that's totally fine too.
I'm going to go ahead and end the recording.